Welcome back to Maths with Mrs. J. The good news is that you already have all the basic techniques you need in order to differentiate. Whenever you learn a new derivative from now on, you can incorporate that into what you already know. So product rule, chain rule, quotient rule, they all still work. So when you get a new bit of information about a derivative, just learn that derivative and incorporate that in to your normal rules. Derivative of sine of x is cos of x. Derivative of cos of x is negative sine of x. And the derivative of tan of x is sec squared x. You may or may not know that sec of x means 1 over cos of x. Okay, so it means cos of x, in essence, to the negative 1. So sec squared would be this to the negative 2. Okay, let's go ahead. We're going to remember our chain rules, our product rules, all that sort of thing, and let's see how we go. So f dash x, our outermost function is the fact that we're taking sine of something. So when we differentiate sine, we get cos. But it wasn't just an x, it was a function of x. So using our chain rule, we know that we need to multiply by the derivative of that innermost function, which is 3 cos 3x. You'll get used to doing ones of those and be able to go straight to the answer. Let's look at this one. Now we've got two functions happening here. What's our outermost function? Cos squared x. So we've got a cos of x and then we've squared it. Let's actually rewrite it like this, just to remind ourselves so that we do the correct order when we're doing our chain rule. So f dash x is going to be 2 times cos of x to the 1, which is just cos of x, multiplied by the derivative of this inner function, which is negative sine x. So this is negative 2 cos x sine x. And you might like to know that that's actually got a special identity that we'll talk about in other videos. You can leave it like that for now. This one here, we've actually got 3 functions happening. Let's rewrite this again. So what we've actually got is sine of x squared plus 1, and then we've cubed it. So we've got our x squared plus 1 as the innermost function, then we've taken sine of it, and then we've cubed it. So using our chain rule, which we should write when we use, the outermost function is the cube. So we're going to get 3 that's squared. I can put it back in the normal place now, multiplied by the derivative of sine. Derivative of sine is cos. But we also need to multiply by the derivative of the innermost function. So let's just tidy this up, and what do we get? We get 6x outside of sine squared, x squared plus 1, cos of x squared plus 1. So just remember, it doesn't matter how many functions you've got happening, you work your way in from the outside. Let's do this one. We just talked about this a minute ago. Sec squared really means cos of this x squared raised to the negative 2. So the innermost function is the x squared, then we've taken cos of it, then we've raised it to the negative 2. So going in from out, we're going to get negative 2 times this to the negative 3 times the next innermost function is the cos, so times negative sine, and then the very innermost function is our 2x. How are we going to tidy this up a little bit? Well, if we've got cos of x squared to the -3, the question was written in terms of sec squared. So why don't we just write that in terms of sec cubed? So we've got a negative and a negative and a 2 and a 2. So we're going to have, what are we going to have? We're going to have 4x sec cubed of x squared times sine of x squared. Often once you get to these sorts of things, there are a number of different ways you can write your answer. As long as it is mathematically correct, it really doesn't necessarily matter depending on why you're differentiating. Last one for this slide. What we've got here is we've got a product and we also have a function of a function. So product rule says first thing times derivative of second thing. The derivative of cos is negative sine. But we have an inner function that we need to multiply by the derivative of. Plus second thing times the derivative of the first thing. Okay. Well, it's really up to you what you want to do with this. You can take out a 2x, I guess. Maybe take out a 2x and then you've got cos of x squared minus x squared plus 1 times sine of x squared. Should really put those like that. I mean, it's 6 of one and half a dozen of the other, exactly how you want to do that one. So that was your product and your chain rules.